Hey, I want to put some context into this video that I'm about ready to run. This was from Thursday night. I streamed this video. I was streaming when this was unfolding. And some of the comments that I have in my videos, which I stand behind every single one of them, happened before I actually knew what was fully happening with this New Zealand shooting. Having said that, I stand behind all of them, and I'm going to let the video play now.
History.
Thanks, bye.
And we need to make gun makers responsible, okay? Just like Gator and I are saying, does that mean that automobile manufacturers are going to be now responsible? Does that mean knife manufacturers are now going to be responsible? Does that mean baseball bat manufacturers are now going to be held responsible? Does that mean anything other than bubble wrap, which we're going to get to later?
People that support this.
Okay, I'm being facetious. I'm not advocating death by bubble wrap. But what I'm saying is, you're ridiculous. You're not the sharpest dart in the board. I'm just going to be honest with you. So on this article here, Parkland family sue gun manufacturers and dealer citing complicity. So let's get this straight. The gun manufacturers are the ones who are complicit for the Parkland and all these other mass shootings that happen. That is absolutely the most stretch of all stretches when you are trying to make a case for this. The lawsuit challenges a 2001 Florida law prohibiting state and local governments from suing gun sellers if their merchandise is used unlawfully. You know, it's kind of like what Gator said, and it's just, I think anybody would say this. It's just common sense. Why don't we sue Ford and Chevy, and why don't we sue, the sports cars and or anybody who makes an inanimate object and markets it for what it is for, like driving all these fast driving cars, sports car, and it's doing burnouts, or it's going through up down the hill, and it makes you they make these advertisements lust after their product. They create this like I want that, right? So they have to make them sexy, otherwise people don't want to buy them. So all advertisement is made for a project for a product to make it look sexy. So if you buy a car and use it unlawfully, does that mean now that car manufacturers are on the hook for being able to be sued by somebody who takes a car and drives it through a crowd of people, or gets behind the wheel drunk and kills somebody? They used that car unlawfully and wound up killing people with it because they had bad intent in their heart, and they had bad motives inside of them, the person who has control of that inanimate object. How can you, in a right mind, how can we in a right society think for a moment that it makes sense that we can sue a manufacturer for their product because somebody used that product illegally? The article that I read earlier on this basically is touching on, they're saying, well, because of their advertising, the way they advertise these made it wasn't correct. I don't know if this article will talk about it, but the advertisement is what gives them complicity in this, because it was bad advertising. Let's just read this. The families of two students killed in the shooting in Parkland, Florida, are filing lawsuits against the gun manufacturer and the seller of the weapon used in the massacre. The parents of Jamie Guttenberger and Max Schachter say that the American Outdoors Brands, the company that makes the AR-15 assault rifle used by the suspected shooter Nicholas Cruz, and Sunrise Tactical Supply, the store that sold it to him, are complicit in the attack that killed 14 students and 3 teachers. Well, now listen, if Sunrise Tactical here, right, if they sold it to him illegally, which I don't know if they did or not, I think he bought it legally, but if they sold it to him illegally, then hell yeah, throw the book at him. Absolutely, I would support that. If somebody got some business, legally operating business, illegally sold a gun to somebody, and then that person took that gun out and killed somebody with it, then that's completely different. I absolutely would support this Sunrise Tactical getting sued if they sold it to him illegally. If it was sold legally, then they are completely, how are they supposed to know, right? How are they supposed to know if they did anything wrong? Right, exactly. You could sue the booze for the drunk drivers. Right. Good point, Gator. Good point. It says the Gutenbergs and the Schachters seek to hold defendants legally responsible for the complicity in the defendants legally responsible for the complicity in the entirely foreseeable deadly. Wait a minute. The Gutenbergs and the Schachters seek to hold defendants legally responsible for their complicity in the entirely foreseeable deadly use of the assault-style weapons that they place on the market, reads one portion of the lawsuit. Hang on a minute here. What do you mean entirely foreseeable? So you're saying that Sunrise Tactical and the gun manufacturers foresaw that this crazy-ass loner incel kid actually was going to get the gun and go shoot people? That was foreseeable? You're a fucking idiot. It's the first lawsuit filed in Florida since February 14th shooting that specifically targets the gun industry as a whole. We need to change history when it relates to guns. Yeah, that's definitely what they want to do, for sure. They do want to change history. And we need to make gun makers responsible, okay? Just like Gator and I are saying, does that mean that automobile manufacturers are going to be now responsible? Does that mean knife manufacturers are now going to be responsible? Does that mean baseball bat manufacturers are now going to be held responsible? Does that mean anything other than bubble wrap, which we're going to get to later? What they're doing, the crazy shit in the UK by banning knives. Does that mean anything short of bubble wrap that could kill somebody and somebody uses to kill somebody? The manufacturers could be held responsible for that? Do you understand? Does anybody see this as the insanity that it is? Of course, you could smother somebody with bubble wrap. You could wrap it around their head, which would probably not be a bad idea for these people that, number one, think this is a good lawsuit. I think you should get some bubble wrap and wrap it around your face and duct tape it. And or maybe these lawyers or these people that support this. Okay, I'm being facetious. I'm not advocating death by bubble wrap. But what I'm saying is, you're ridiculous. You're not the sharpest dart in the board. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's just kind of a fact. Okay. We need to make change history. Yeah, I read that. We need to make sure they don't end up in the hands of people who will kill innocents. Well, how do you know? How do you know what guns are going to and what guns aren't going to end up in the hands of psychos that are going to kill people? And here's another thing along those lines. If they don't have guns, as we've seen in the UK, they'll find another method to kill people because they're bad people. Guns have never, in the history of all guns ever made, there has never been a single gun that has killed anyone autonomously. It's never happened. And it never will happen. It is always with either operator error and or operator intent, where you intend to use it to kill someone because you're a bad person and you're psychotic and you'll find a way to hurt people even if you don't have a gun. Well, yeah, but you can't kill as many people if you don't have a knife. Okay, so it isn't that people are dying, number one. It's just how many people are dying. And if they don't use a knife, maybe they'll just use a car and ram into people. I don't think that's ever... Oh, wait, yeah, that has happened. Oh, man. Hey, Rationale, what's up, my dude? Rationale just signed in, dude. Rationale and Gator, my two fans right there. Booyah, my 1.5% of my listener base. So glad you guys are here. All right, carrying on. The main purpose of the lawsuit is to challenge a 2001 Florida law prohibiting state and local governments from suing gun sellers in their event that their merchandise is used unlawfully. Now we wait for the Florida Attorney General and for the two companies to respond, said Stephen Rosenthal, an attorney representing the Gutenbergs. Maybe they take the view that the statute should not, maybe they take the view that the statute should only apply to public entities. American Outdoor Brands did not immediately respond to NBC's news for a comment, and Sunrise Tactical declined to comment. At the news conference, Rosenthal mentioned that the momentary that the monetary penalties for filing such lawsuits have typically discouraged victims and their families from taking such legal actions. But since we are so sick of terrible, we are uniting against the evil guns in the U.S. that we are going to just do it for them anyways? Probably something like that. Or they're going to, what? Families of the victims in previous mass shootings included those that took place at Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida, and the Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, have also attempted to sue gun manufacturers, but eventually saw that their cases dismissed. Yeah, they got dismissed because they're stupid. And not the people, but these suits are. I won't call the people stupid because they lost their families and they were hurting, and it's a terrible, evil, horrible situation. I'm not minimizing the pain that these parents and these families are going through with what happened to them. It's horrible. I completely sympathize and I don't understand, but I sympathize. My heart genuinely goes out to these people. But you don't fix that inside of yourself by doing a step that is completely illogical and is going to have no practical effect. Well, I take that back. It would have a very practical effect if they actually lost this law or won this lawsuit, because then, yeah, I mean, this is a soft way of gun control. I mean, if they can't get our guns legally, they'll figure out other ways to make it so evil or put gun manufacturers out of business. And that's also what they've tried. I mean, there was a soft gun ban, I think it was under Obama, when they were putting all these regulations. Well, that's actually happening right now. They're putting all these extra regulations, like in Washington and in Oregon here right now. There's gun laws trying to be passed that effectively don't take away the Second Amendment, but effectively take away the Second Amendment by what kind of magazines you can have, by where you need to keep your guns, by how many guns you can have. You have to register them, the hoops you have to jump through to get them, so on and so forth. It effectively is stripping away little by little the Second Amendment right to bear arms. And I don't understand the mind. I do understand why these leftists and these liberals want to do it, ultimately. But in any logical person's mind, good people aren't going to use guns. Good people aren't going to use guns to kill people. The fact of the matter is, guns don't kill people. People kill people. Guns are inanimate objects. And bad people are always going to find a way to hurt good people. This is a very simple, and it's been watered down, and we get so outraged. The left, I'm going to bounce around, I'm going to do a little ADHD on you here. The left gets so enraged about, or so incensed about how we need gun control because how many, 30 people get shot a year with an AR-15 or 150 people or 200 people. I don't know exactly what the numbers is. I know that the total homicides every year, the total gun deaths every year are in the 30,000 range, but half of those are suicides, right? And then there's a large portion of those that are also justified shootings. And there's a very smaller percentage. I want to say it's around 12,000 people a year are killed by guns. People never talk about the opposite side of that, the studies that have proven that 500,000 to somewhere upwards of possibly 3 million, 2 to 3 million, it's kind of hard to gauge some of these higher numbers, but these studies have been done by the government, right? That 500,000 people are saved. Guns stop violent crime, stop 500,000 violent crimes a year. 500,000, we'll just take it on the low end, not the high end. The 500,000 people lives are saved every year because of guns. That's not a statistic that anybody talks about because it doesn't fit the narrative. Hey everybody, thank you so much for making it this far. If you want to become a better person in life, then you should subscribe to my channel and hit the bell notification because it's going to help you. And then if you give thumbs up, it's going to help you even more. And if you give a comment, man, you're going to be golden.